Hello everyone, this is Markakkoottathil. Our topic for today is architecting data center using NSX-T and AVI. Bit about myself, I bring 16 years of experience into data center networking and designing advising to the enterprises across the world. With that, let's understand our discussion point for today. The first thing is VMware approach towards NSX-T and AVI. And we will also look into the integration of these two solutions and how these two solutions put across in an enterprise-grade reference architecture. Then we will move on to value proposition of these two solutions and see three different use cases of these two solutions. Now, the first thing is VMware approach towards networking and security. If you look at both of these solutions, work based on an SDN-based principles. That means with SDN, you have an SDN controller, which takes care of your configuration provisionings, your management, your telemetry, your policy definitions. And SDN will also have a data plane component where all your policies, which is defined on your SDN controller, will be pushed onto the data plane. Now, relating this to the NSX-T, with NSX-T, you have NSX-T Manager, which allows you to define all your networking and security policies. Once you define those policies will be pushed to the data plane. When it comes to NSX-T, the data plane is your hypervisor itself. It could be KVM machines, it could be a ESXi server. Similarly, with AV controller, you have AV controller acting as an SDN for ADC use cases, which means your all ADC use cases, including load balancer, GSLB, and DNS, IPAM services will be defined on the AV controller and will be pushed onto a data plane component of AV, that is the service engine. I hope with this you got a simplified view of these two solutions. Moving on to an architectural perspective kind of a discussions. In this topology I am showing on the left side, there is a management segment where you see all these element managers. It could be an NSX-T manager, AV controller, vCenter, AAA servers. All these element managers will be part of your management segment in a typical enterprise grade network. Now on the right side, you see your workload with all these network and security policies, which means for the workload to send the traffic and receive the traffic, it goes through these networking and security functions. Example, T0 router allows you to send the traffic out. T1 router on the NSX-T will allow you to connect to your workload segment and also the service engine. So with these two solutions, you can effectively have your enterprise network covering your network and security use cases. Moving on to a multi-site architectural discussion. In an enterprise, you can have a single site or you can have multiple sites. Now, in each of the site, you can also have different segments. You can have production segment, you can have development segment, you can have DMZ. Now, just looking into the production segment, you can have your workload having gateway services on the NSX-T T1 logical router, and the NSX-T T1 also connects to the L4, L7 appliances such as AV service engine. Whenever the traffic need to be sent out of your segment, it will send to the NSX-T T0, and the T0 will also connect to the physical firewalling and also the physical router. The same kind of semantics can be done for your other segment as well, like development segment, UAT segment, and also for the DMZ. DMZ is a special case because there are lots of security use cases in DMZ because of your publishing your application outside. Now, this is the block which is very relevant for your AV controller, where your AV will have a web application firewall which provides very granular policy for your applications. And AVI also have a GSLB, which allows you to have your application load balance across multiple sites. Now, think about a scenario where your business is having an applications across multiple sites and you want to extend your network and security policies across a site. So in that case, you can make use of NSX-T federations, which allows you to stretch your network and security policies using an overlay protocol, which is Geneve. That also allows you to avoid any kind of spanning tree protocol in the network. Now, with that, let's move on to the use cases. The first use case I want to talk about is integrating these two solutions are giving you an integrated network and L4, L7 services. For this, I want to highlight NSX-T Manager first. The moment you have your network and security policy defined on your NSX-T Manager, such as logical T0 router, T1 router, and also the segment to connect your AVI controller and also the workload in your network. And once you have this, you can integrate your NSX-T with AVI controller. The integration means you are providing NSX-T credentials and IP addressing to the AVI controller. The moment you do that, from AVI, you'll be able to see all the network and security policy available for defining your virtual services and also for a real service. That means on NSX-T, if you define a security group for your servers, that same security group will be available on the AVI controller, and you can use it for defining your real servers and binding that to the virtual services. A very tight integration there. Now, let's move on to use case 2. The use case 2, I'm talking about scalable application delivery. What does that mean? It means in your business, maybe you're into business, there are lots of on-demand traffic, right? Maybe you are seeing lots of traffic during some of the festive seasons, like you are in a retail business, during the Christmas, you see there are lots of traffic. How do you make sure your application is able to scale for those kind of demand coming into your network, right? With AVI, you can actually set a threshold saying the moment it reaches 70 or 90%, it can spin more service engine so that it can serve those additional traffic. And whenever the situation goes to normal, it can also scale back in. A very important use cases if you are into your business is running on a internet, and that is the case with most of the business currently. Now, moving on to the use case 3, this is our final use case. With this use case, I want to talk about monitoring and visibility. Think about you yourself in an operation of your infrastructure. So application high availability and also making sure that application is able to respond to the client request is very important for your job functions. So in that case, you need to make sure that you are able to understand the application flow from the client to all the way to the application. And in between, you can have different kind of infrastructure. That means if the application is slow, you need to figure out where exactly the slowness is happening. Maybe it is happening on the infrastructure side, maybe it is happening on the load balancer, or maybe the problem is with the application itself. So with AVI, it can actually give you an end-to-end topology and tell you where exactly the delay is happening, whether it is due to a load balancer, it is due to the applications, or it is due to the infrastructure itself. It can give you a hop by hop round trip time from each of those points, right? And tell you where exactly the trouble is, and you can focus there and troubleshoot the issues. Now, moving on to connection log analytics. Connection log analytics is all about how you can get effectively all the details about your client data. What is the browser type client is using when it is sending out the request, whether it is using Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla, or it is using what kind of operating system when it is sending out the request. It could be Windows, it could be iOS, it could be Android. And what is the type of request it is sending? It is sending a HTTP request, HTTPS request, or some other type of TCP. All these informations will be readily available for you to derive the insight, so that you can make sure that your infrastructure support all kinds of client requests. Now moving on to the infrastructure itself, which is the NSX-T. With NSX-T traffic trees, you'll be able to get the complete topology view of your traffic from source to destinations. It can tell you each of the hop the traffic is passing through, whether the traffic is affected with some kind of topology, some kind of topology issues related, or it is because of some firewalling issue the traffic is getting dropped, or it is because of routing issues. So with this, I want to conclude and say, if you have an end-to-end security and network and ADC use cases taken care by some solutions, it will really simplify your deployment and management across your environment. And both of these solutions, AVI and the NSX-T, really works well when you have a end-to-end VMware infrastructure. But in some cases, you can also have your bare metal services integrated with these solutions. But you need to make sure that you are doing a capacity planning, requirement analysis, and also doing a compatibility analysis to make sure that the things are working fine. So thank you so much for your time. I hope this session is useful. Thank you.